Thank you, Jonathan. Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Door County on this glorious day. Our congregation represents many faith traditions and backgrounds. It's a place that supports the freedom of conscience and of each individual as we work to be a force together for healing in our community and beyond. So whoever you are and wherever you happen to be on your journey, we are so happy to have you with us today. My name is Jan Freistack, and as your service leader today, I'd like to add a special welcome to those who are visiting for the first time or for the first time in a long time. If you're comfortable, we invite you to stand and introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, and maybe what brought you here today.
Hi, my name is Karen Eichner. I haven't been here in a very long time, and I really don't have any great excuse.
You don't need one.
But I'm glad that I can come back here and feel welcome.
Welcome, Karen.
I'm Danielle, and I live here over the summer, and I've never been to this congregation, but I've been involved with UU in Milwaukee and New Orleans.
Awesome, Danielle. Welcome.
I'm Chris Weidenbacher, and I've been gone for a while. I had triple bypass, and some work done on a carotid artery here. Took me a while, but while I was away, keeping my sense of humor, I knew that everybody here was thinking of me.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what is so wonderful about being part of this congregation, is that I knew I had friends, even though I was far away in Green Bay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, welcome back. I'd like to offer a special welcome to our guest speaker today, Reverend Suzelle Lynch. We are very thrilled you're with us. At this time, are there any announcements? Terry has the mic if you have anything to share.
As you probably noticed, we have a new exhibition in the gallery. This is David Graham right here and his wife Terry, who has shown here in the past. David's work subject is the American cultural landscape, a tireless traveler and a natural-born storyteller. His work is a jubilant celebration of freedom of expression, seeking out those Americans who are serious about the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Graham's lens finds the space between private expression and public vulgarity, hinting of a future where commercial billboards and handmade quotes are hanging in the same place in the museum. As Robert Venturi points out in Taking Liberties, the book, one of many, Graham's work is rooted in the element of juxtaposition, interpretation, and the embrace of the everyday American experience. Now, David has, I would say, probably one of the most well-known and renowned photographer. He taught at the University of Arts in Philadelphia and has worked for the New York Times Magazine, Newsweek, Time, Fortune, and recently Forbes. 9 books of his photographs have been published, including most recently In Plain Sight. His photographs are in the collections of the Museum of Modern Art.
Yes.
Museum of Modern Art, Philadelphia Museum of Art, Art Institute of Chicago, and the San Francisco Modern Art, among others. He lives in De Pere with his wife, Terry, and who is also a photographer and artist. And they have, in De Pere, have started a gallery called the New Art Space.
Hmm.
I urge you to go. It's downtown De Pere and pretty easy to get to. So anyway, I'm looking forward to you seeing the show because it is delightful. But there is also a bit of satire, I guess I would say, embedded in his work. So he will be available at the coffee hour for questions. And then after the talk back, if you want to come back in the gallery, he will also have some things to say. Okay?
Okay. Any other announcements?
Hi, my name is Gwen Grayboys, and the plants are coming Friday, June 7th. We're going to have a work party for planting starting at 1 o'clock here at the fellowship, as long as it takes. As many people who can come, whether it's for an hour or the whole shift, we're more than happy to have you. I think all the plants we're going to be doing this time will be native plants, but as you've noticed, we haven't removed absolutely everything from the front. Things that are happy and healthy and blooming and well groomed, we're going to leave in place. But we've gotten rid of some lamb's ear, a little too abundant ostrich fern, and that favorite cactus continues to leave its little needles in my gloves. So anyway, I'm happy that that will be an end. So please come and help if you're free.
I'm sorry. For those of you who might have missed the online invitation to my 90th birthday party on June 22nd, I have some paper invites here. So see me later and let me know if you're coming.
Awesome. Right behind you, Terry.
Good morning. I'm just rising to speak on behalf of the Wisconsin UU State Action Network. You know that we're engaged in a Get Out the Vote campaign this summer to get as many people to the polls as we possibly can. June 12th, we'll be having an online kickoff meeting, and you're all invited to it. You can register on the woosan.org website. And if you can't, then I would urge you, invite you, push you to ask everybody that you meet if they are registered to vote. This is an important election. Everybody needs to have their voice heard.
Okay, thank you. Just a few reminders. Please silence your phones. And if you have any difficulty hearing during the service, raise your hand and we'll try to adjust the volume. Please join us for coffee and conversation following the service in the fellowship hall. And there won't be a talk back today because instead Reverend Suzelle is going to lead us in a dynamic workshop on everything you wanted to know about Unitarian Universalism, but were afraid to ask. Please join us after coffee and a light lunch and bring your questions. Now we begin our service with the chalice lighting. The flaming chalice is a symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith, a vessel made from earthly clay, made sacred by the mind's fire, the heart's warmth, and the spirit's spark. As we kindle the chalice flame, we illuminate this community anew and renew our commitment to help heal a hurting world. Please stand and join in singing hymn 128, For All That Is Our Life, and remain standing afterwards. Please remain standing for the unison affirmation. We gather together to seek knowledge and wisdom, to explore freely the vast reaches of mind and spirit, to celebrate within a caring community those truths, ancient and modern, which give meaning and direction to our lives. Please be seated for our joys and concerns. We find our joys are amplified and our concerns are lessened by sharing them. Please keep in mind that the service is live and saved on the internet, and don't share about another person without permission. Does anyone have a joy or concern?
Pam Good. A little over a week ago, the world lost an amazing woman, Lois Rice. Many of you knew her. She was a friend to 4 generations of our family. Tomorrow would have been her 106th birthday.
Goodness.
We actually went to see Lois. I think other than hospice and the doctors, we might have been the last non-family members. And in the conversation, she was lucid and she consoled us.
Whoops. Ooh. I'm celebrating my youngest granddaughter's graduation from high school. She has a full scholarship to go to the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And she is, well, I think probably a straight A student. I'm not bragging.
Mark Richards. Last weekend, I had the privilege of participating in the Creation Water Walk. This was an event which is a Native American ceremony. It began up at Portamore Park, where we gathered some water from the lake and we carried it. We were going to carry it all the way to Kewaunee in 3 days, but because of the rain and some over ambition, I think, we ended at the wayside just south of Algoma. The interesting part of this is that after they had done the closing ceremony and terminated the walk, they turned around, and on a barn across the road, it's a big sign that says, "Water is life."
Cool.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Cindy Steele. Yesterday, as it happened, I had the joy of spending 8 hours on the computer with my 11-year-old grandson participating in a boater safety class, an online class. He withstood it for 8 hours saying, no, I want to do more. No, I want to do more. And we both passed. It's great.
Hi, this is Hank Wilst. And Cindy, nice to hear that your grades are above sea level. No, this morning I have 34 joys.
Hi, I'm Reverend Suzelle, your pulpit guest today. And my joy was that last night, my husband Tom and I got to stay over with Al Johnson.
Oh.
And I met Al and Cynthia when I was an intern minister in Dallas, Texas in 1993, 94. And so we've known each other 30 years, a little more than that. And Cynthia was, Laurel Hallman, who was the senior minister there, was my supervisor. But Cynthia was definitely one of my mentors. And so it's a great joy to have renewed the friendship with Al over these past few years. So thank you, Al.
I know I'm short, but I'm just sitting down right now. So, Carrie Link here, and my joy is that I'm finally back. I've been gone 2 months, but I mean, I haven't been out of state or anything, but it's wonderful to be back. It feels just like walking in the door. It felt like a hug. So
Oh.
it's nice to be back. Thank you.
Well, our next 2 weeks are going to be family weeks. We've got daughter and her family, 3 kids and her husband coming in. They probably just landed in Chicago from Indonesia, and they'll be visiting us for until next Saturday. And so we're happy about that. And then as soon as they leave, as soon as their other side leaves out the house, why we'll be heading down to Chicago and flying out to Santa Barbara to go to our, we have 3 grandchildren in Santa Barbara, and the youngest one is graduating from high school. So we're going to go to his graduation ceremony the next week.
Well, my special joy today is to have Reverend Suzelle with us. And in addition to her extensive bio, Suzelle shared that after her last message here, Walking in Circles, about using labyrinths as a spiritual practice, she was hired by Trinity Lutheran Church on Washington Island. That congregation has now begun building a very fine labyrinth on their grounds. So her influence will be felt up and down Door County in many wonderful ways.
Well, it's your influence.
Oh, our influence.
Because one of their members came here to hear the sermon.
Oh.
And then they hired me as a consultant.
Oh, well, I didn't know that. Okay, well, thank you. Okay, now it's time to collect our offertory. And remember that as we give, we're saying yes to what we value. Please give generously. Now, a moment to quiet our minds and hearts to receive today's message. Today's reading is Standing on One Foot by Rabbi Hillel. The great Talmudic sage Hillel was born in Babylonia in the 1st century BCE. As a young man, he went to the Holy Land to study the Torah, the Jewish scripture, at the feet of the sages of Jerusalem. He was initially a very poor but brilliant scholar and became a famous Torah scholar. Rabbi Hillel is often mentioned together with his colleague Shammai, with whom he often disagreed on the interpretation of Torah law. Shammai often followed the stricter interpretation, whereas Hillel tended toward a more lenient understanding of the law. There's a famous story about how Hillel and Shammai in the Talmud, the book of commentary on the Torah, that explains how its commandments are to be carried out. This story tells of a Gentile who asked Hillel about Judaism. Some versions of the story say that the man wanted to convert to Judaism. Others say he was mocking the rabbis. First, the man went to Rabbi Shammai and said he would convert to Judaism if the rabbi could teach him the whole of the Torah while standing on one foot. Now, what do you suppose Shammai did? Who ever heard of learning the whole Torah while standing on one foot? The rabbis had spent all their lives in studying the Torah, and even then they were not sure they knew it. Rabbi Shammai took a stick and shouted angrily, "Get out of here, you scoffer! Do you think I have time to waste on people who mock our holy Torah?" The man then went to Rabbi Hillel and said the same thing. Hillel replied, "What is hateful to you, do not do to your neighbor. That is the whole Torah. The rest is explanation. Now go and study it."
Good morning. It's good to be with you this morning. So one day, back in the mid-1990s, when I was serving my first congregation, my church office phone rang, and I answered. "Good morning, this is Reverend Suzelle Lynch." And there was silence. And then, just as I was about to hang up, a faltering voice said, "Hello? Hello? Are you really there?" The caller wanted to know about the church and what Unitarian Universalists believe, and she especially wanted to know if divorced people were welcome in the congregation. Not only welcome, if they were allowed in the congregation. So this was back in the days before most congregations had websites, and Facebook pages were yet to be imagined. Otherwise, she probably would have done some research before she came to that congregation, as most newcomers to Unitarian Universalism do today. I did my best to answer her questions about our Unitarian Universalist faith, and I explained that divorced people were most certainly welcome. And I noted that our church membership included people from many different walks of life, many different family configurations, including multiracial families like mine, single people, single parents, people of color, LGBTQ plus people too. Wow, she said, that sounds great. And she told me her name was Rosemarie, and she promised that she would come to church the very next Sunday. Well, when she didn't show up that Sunday, or the following one, or the one after that, I stopped watching for her. It was all right. I knew not to expect everyone who inquired about the congregation to actually visit. It takes a lot of courage to walk into a new faith community. Some of you know that, I'm sure. But then, many weeks later, as I was greeting people after the service, there she was with her twinkling blue eyes. She was dressed in a snappy lavender suit, far more formal than that congregation's usual uniform of jeans and fleece. It was in Washington State. Hey, are you Rosemarie? I said. Yes, she said. "Oh, you remembered me." Of course I did. Rosemarie said she'd enjoyed the service and she kept coming back. And it wasn't long before she was volunteering and making friends. But it wasn't until about 6 months later that I found out what had been happening in her life when she made that first phone call. Suzelle, she said, I was at the end of my rope. My daughter was so angry with me for divorcing her father, and we hadn't spoken in more than a year, and I was having many painful health problems. And I couldn't go back to my former church because they hated divorce and divorced people. I felt so alone. It was like everyone had abandoned me. I felt even like God had abandoned me. I was so desperate, she said, I opened the phone book and I called every church in town. But I never got a real person to answer the phone. And when I left messages, nobody called me back. You were the only one, she said, who took the time to listen. A few years later, Rosemarie told that story to the whole congregation as part of a service. This church saved my life, she said. I know that sounds extreme, but this church saved my life. I'm so grateful for that. What I found here saved my life. So, what was it that saved Rosemarie's life? That's what I want to talk with you about today. I think some of you know what it is because you've experienced it as well. That life-changing quality that a Unitarian Universalist congregation can offer us. Maybe you never thought of it that way, and that's okay. What I think, though, is that no matter how we name that or describe it, it's important for all of us to take ownership of what it is we cherish about our Unitarian Universalist faith and to be clear about what our congregations give us. It's important for our own spiritual health, but also in the process of reminding ourselves what we love and who we are as UUs. We may find that it makes our faith easier to share with other people. And if Rosemarie is any example, our sharing could very well be life transforming. So maybe you're wondering what any of this has to do with Rabbi Hillel and Rabbi Shammai from our reading. Well, it would be hubris for me to compare myself to either one of those great sages. But when Rosemarie called, I did my best to take the path of Rabbi Hillel, listening to her, offering her some thoughts about Unitarian Universalism, and inviting her to learn more. What I didn't do for Rosemarie, though, was to give her the standing on one foot answer. Do you know how long the average person can stand on one foot? How about a guess? 15 seconds, 10 seconds? Somebody said 30. It's 30 seconds, according to the great sages of the internet. But today, I thought we would take up the challenge of the wise rabbi, wonderful sage Hillel, to see if there's a way to teach all of Unitarian Universalism while standing on one foot. Why would we want to do this? Well, to paraphrase Albert Einstein, another respected sage, something we're able to explain simply is something we really understand ourselves. I know many of us feel like this religion is just too darn complicated to talk about. Have you ever felt that way? No? Nobody? Well, okay. No, I see people going, nah, not really. I can do it. When somebody asks us about it, sometimes we want so desperately to do it justice, our explanations get convoluted. You would think that as a minister, this wouldn't happen to me, but it does. A story. One time after a memorial service, one of the family members of the deceased asked me an innocent question. What's the difference between a priest and a minister? He said. Taken by surprise, I launched into a history lesson on the differences between the Protestant and Catholic branches of Christianity and where Unitarian Universalists fit into all of that. Plus, after the nice young man who'd asked the question told me he was a Muslim, I launched into another long and complicated story of how the members of my congregation in Brookfield, Wisconsin had joined with others in the interfaith community to fight against those who were trying to prevent a mosque from being built in our town. And we succeeded. Talk about overdoing it. I went on and on and on until I was embarrassed at myself. And no doubt I had made him feel very awkward as well. In my defense, some of my awkwardness was likely due to the fact that this was during the pandemic, and I hadn't been in person with a group of people at church for more than a year. Since then, I have noticed that the events of that time, the fear and uncertainty of COVID, the huge societal and political divisions that still continue, the murder of George Floyd, and the resurgence of anti-racism work that stemmed from his death. And of course, the more and more alarming reports of climate change. These things have shifted the way that I think about our faith and that I talk about our faith. And so here's what I mean. Often when we talk about Unitarian Universalism, we start out by talking about beliefs. And sometimes we even start with the we don'ts, as in, at my church, we don't believe in Jesus, or we don't have to believe in Jesus. We don't believe in heaven or hell. We don't believe the Bible is the word of God. We don't believe this. We don't believe that. Or we resort to that old saw, well, Unitarian Universalists can believe whatever we want. It's true that we do give ourselves a lot of theological freedom. It's true that we consciously use our heads and our hearts and our heritage plus our life experience as lenses to focus our beliefs. But what if individual freedom to carefully curate our beliefs isn't the most important thing about us? In the interest of providing you with a short, easy to remember way to talk about Unitarian Universalism, an answer that you might share with all the Rosemaries that you encounter, I want to offer you just 5 words that summarize what is really most important about our UU faith. Why 5 words, you ask? Well, on each of our humble human feet, how many toes? 5 toes. 5 toes uniquely designed to help us keep our balance when we're standing on one foot or even when we're walking on both feet. Therefore, I thought 1 word for each toe would be just the right number. Are you ready? Okay. So our first word is the word together, because together symbolizes the fact that our Unitarian Universalist faith isn't about creeds. It's not based on beliefs, prescribed beliefs, but it's covenantal in nature. Covenantal means the promises that we make to one another as a community and the actions that we take to fulfill those promises. It means that that's primary for us. Covenant is primary. Our ancestors' covenant was the promise to walk together in the spirit of love, come what may, through good times and through bad times. Their confidence that a core of goodness existed in every person led them to ask their members to commit to the good of the larger whole. And they trusted that the power of that commitment, rather than threatening folks with punishment if they broke the church's rules or laws, they trusted the power of that commitment to walk together in the spirit of love, come what may. Baked into their covenant, just as it is baked into us today, is the promise that when we fail in our efforts to walk together in the spirit of love, we'll do our best to recognize our failure. We'll do our best to make amends and seek forgiveness. And we will do our best to forgive. That's what it means to be together with a capital T, to be in sacred relationship with one another. Our second word is the word open. And that means a Unitarian Universalist is someone whose heart and mind are open to the wisdom of the world beyond their personal experience. And not only that, it means we're open to the joy and pain of the world that is beyond our direct personal experience. This is no small thing if you really live it. Our openness leads us to the next word, which is empathy. The act of feeling with another person, allowing their pain, their sorrow, and their joy to touch us, allowing their hope, their confusion, even their despair to change us. And it also means being moved by all of this toward our next word, which is service. Service has a big meaning. It means, as a Unitarian Universalist, we're not only people who act to ease another's pain or meet another's needs, but we also are people who work on the root causes of injustice and oppression. When we work to uproot and heal injustice and oppression, that means we do it even when we have to let go of being right, even when we have to relinquish our power. Those are tough to do. Those are tough things to do. It's tough to say, this is beyond my experience, and I accept that it is true for you. Service means we thoughtfully direct our actions toward the greater good, the common good, toward those who share a world that we have not experienced. And our last word, the last toe on that balancing foot, the little toe, is the word mystery. To be a UU is to appreciate the limits of human knowledge and to not shy away from that dividing place where something beyond our ken takes over or sparks up. A UU is someone who is willing to be awed by the beauty of nature or perhaps a gorgeous photograph. I'm thinking we'll have that experience after the service. We're people who are willing to be awed by experiences of the ineffable, those things that come to us from time to time. But also we recognize that mystery means transformation. It's not just about, oh, wow, what a beautiful thing, but being transformed by an experience that takes us out of our comfort zone. It means we'll be transformed in perspective by our actions and our work for justice, by our compassionate empathy, by our openness. We will be transformed by our being together. We're not just a coffee and muffin society, my friends. We are a community where we are transformed in the being together. We recognize that mystery is life's exclamation point. It adds spice to absolutely everything. And it's part of who we are as UUs. So now I'm wondering, did any of you notice what I did there? Yes. 5 words. Together, open, empathy, service, exclamation point. So what do we get? Toes. Toes. The first letters of our 5-word spells toes, if we allow mystery to be an exclamation point. So the next time someone asks you about Unitarian Universalism, stay on your toes. Stand on one foot and let those toes keep you balanced as you say something like this. UUs are people who work together for the common good, keeping our minds open, toes down, to wisdom and learning. We open our hearts to the experiences of people beyond our experience, for we know empathy is essential in our work for justice and our work against oppression. And we know that this work will transform our perspective and help make us more whole. And through everything, we encourage each other to seek life's deeper meanings and appreciate life's mystery and its beauty. I didn't say all of that on one foot, I know. But these 5 toes, together, open, empathy, service, and mystery, are what saved the life of Rosemarie, member of my congregation, the Kitsap Unitarian Universalist Fellowship in Bremerton, Washington. From her place of aloneness and despair, she found in that congregation a community of deep meaning and empowering relationships, a place that accepted her as she was, forgave her when she failed, a place that cared for her no matter what, and urged her to widen her perspective and use her gifts for a greater good. I hope that you will practice speaking your understanding of what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist. Say it out loud. Words help us learn, even if we're just talking to ourselves at first. Words help us take our faith into our own hearts and minds. So the next time someone like Rosemarie shows up with questions and a longing for community, we're ready to tell her that together with open hearts and ever-learning minds, we UUs act with empathy in compassionate and justice-building service, honoring life's beauty and its mystery. And as the learned Rabbi Hillel said, all the rest is explanation. Go now and study it. May we go forth to learn it, to live it, and always to love. Shalom, blessed be, Ashe, and Amen. We have a hymn to sing, but I would invite you to take a breath with me first before Jonathan plays the beautiful For All That Be Ours of Religion. Whew. And please rise in body or in spirit for 1058. We'll sing it twice through. Be ours a religion which like sunshine goes everywhere. Its temple, all faith is, its shrine, the good heart, its creed.
We close our service with these words by Reverend Maureen Killeran. To act with passion in the face of injustice.
To love with courage in the midst of life's pain.
This is the meaning of our chalice flame.
May it empower our hearts until we are together again. Shalom, blessed be, Ashe, and
Amen.